Ish, Pella, we are dealing with white people today, so I had to be exactly on time. I had to be exactly on time because that race is always on time. So I am not worried about latecomers. Welcome to everybody. My name is Nziki Mazwai, and it's a privilege to be running the Moya podcast, which is part of the healing programs for our country. We come from such a volatile past of hatred, especially racial hatred. And ever since 94, we never really got a chance to unpack some of the hurt that has happened. Even in our microisms, like in our families, when there is a problem in the family, it usually works out best when people gather and speak. And I'm finding that, hey guys, I'm finding that we are not speaking across all the races. We're not speaking. We're speaking about each other. So that's not going to help us get further than we've gotten because we've been talking about each other for decades now and complaining about each other. So, what tends to happen is that we hear the Black voice because we're in the majority. So, you would hear us the loudest. However, we're not the only race that is occupying the country. So, we have to find ways in order to all work together to ensure that, first of all, history doesn't repeat itself, and to ensure that everybody who lives in South Africa is living just like, right now some people are at the bare minimum. I mean, even if we had to speak about our homeless shelters and stuff, we need to make sure that those are top notch. We need to make sure that the most vulnerable in the South African community are taken care of. And that's why such conversations across the race line are so important. Well, partly because the economy is still in white hands, so we do actually have to have conversations. Um, we are hoping that we are dealing with people who want to make a difference, who are trying to figure out how they can put in their hands in the rebuilding of our nation collectively. So, in the last episode, which freaking traumatized me, it's taken me 2 weeks to come back to this live stream. I'm hoping that we can actually build it and talk and talk and talk until we hear minority voices. I think that's very important. A community that doesn't listen to its minority voices is going to have issues like we're having, because there's no consensus. We're not all together. So we're not saying that in the end, in South Africa, everybody will be taken care of and it's going to be utopia. It's amazing. But we are saying, guys, let's now start aiming for at least like 85% of our population to live decently, have a house, just basic, decent conditions. And how do we do that, Um, how do we contribute to ensure that vulnerable communities are affected by our decision to change? When you are in privilege, there's so little that is pushing you. Everything is comfortable. Um, I know it's not all white people who are rich and stuff, but the gross majority of white people in South Africa are busy having lunch while the majority of the blacks are like working. So it does point to an economic discrepancy there, Guti. How did we get to the race-based discrepancies? And I'm hoping that one of the conversations that we have as we start these conversations is the race conversation, because that's a big one, you know. See, there's Victor Shong was saying that, can we start having mentorship programs to initiate Black farmers? You know, the reality is that white people have been running the farms for long commercially, because yes, there are Black people on farms, but commercially. So how do we now share that knowledge and share the resources so that we lift everybody up? So white people are in the uncomfortable position of having to be the ones who have to share. And we will go into why we got to this position, obviously. But the reality is that there is going to have to be some sort of effort from the white South African community. In the last session I had you guys where you traumatized me, and I'm hoping that there are definitely white people here, because it's also likely we also have a white arrogance problem where white people don't want to listen to Blacks and don't want to be led by Blacks. And they just think for monkeys, and like, really, why would I want to go speak to Nziki Mazwai about, like, please, I've got better things to do with my life, you know? So I do hope that we do have some white people. You can please pass it on to your family members, what you are learning in class. So last session, what came across for me was that there is a breakdown in communication. In what came up was the name, what's in a name, you know? And in last session, I learned that white people don't really realize nor recognize the value of African names, and that it's quite a spiritual thing for us. So thanks, guys. Keep the comments coming. Keep the comments coming. We love especially the ones from YouTube, because at least we know that there's a possibility you might subscribe to the channel, and even better, become a member. So thank you so much for pitching in. So back to culture, you know. I think that it's important for white people to be educated in terms of our cultural norms and our customs and things like names, why it's so important that you call me by my name. And the fact that white people overseas can say our names properly and South African whites pretend not to be able to say our names properly is in itself, it speaks to disrespect and disregard of people. And it's important. It's important, you know. Sometimes you meet someone and then you meet different cultures, and people of different cultures do different things. And we must always respect the cultures of different people. I mean, this is just basic humanity. I don't even think I need to be telling you this. But you know, if you go to China, you see everybody taking off their shoes to get in somewhere. You're not just going to walk in with your shoes. So it's the same principle and same concept that in African culture, our names come from a very deep place, and they hold memory and history for us, and they hold purpose and meaning and spirituality. So it's heavy. It's heavy. It's just that we have come from a past where Black history and Black identity has been erased. So Black people have never been in a position to explain to you the depth of what this actually means. And, you know, so that's what came up for me. And I wish that if there are people from last time here, I hope that what you take away from last week's thing was the matter of identity and how Black people have been stripped of their identity. And it's difficult for you to relate to such because it's never happened to you. So there is a level of maturity, emotional maturity, and wisdom that we're going to require from the white community in South Africa. A level where you don't know what you did wrong, but you're like, I'm sorry, that level, because you can see people have been traumatized by your presence here. So to gaslight people and act like it doesn't exist is tricky. Let me just go to comments here saying, I think there's a lack of financial literacy and economic education with blacks and coloreds. We have people who earn a lot of money, but the way they use it, most don't know the game of economics. You see, that's a very valid point. So this is all part of the trauma. This is all part of the trauma, you know? Um, so now we get to the crux of the issue and why we are gathered here today. I suspect the black man is definitely a white account. So let's start. So, land expropriation without compensation. I would have loved for white people to come and tell me what they think it means. What does it mean to you? Like, how are you interpreting it when black people say that they want their land back without expropriation? So I'm opening comment section to white people, like, please just explain, how are you understanding land compensation without expropriation? I'll explain to you from the black angle. So from the black lens, which is going to be different from the European lens because you come into South Africa a little later in history. So there's chapters that you are not acknowledging, not willing to acknowledge. Also, obviously, because it must be quite traumatic to be in a country where people are saying you're not welcome, go back to Europe, but you have been here for generations. You were born here, your parents were born here. And it would put a person in defense mode if that happened to them, right? So the white lens is a little bit different to the black lens. So the black lens starts even before 1652, you know. Africans have been roaming this continent for millions of years. And even by your own textbooks and history books, um, that's exactly what I thought too. It's definitely a white guy. Black man is definitely a guy. Uh, I asked which land you're talking about, farmland or residential land. That's why that's the conversation I'm trying to have, black man. Okay, black man is really a black man. There's another comment here. That's why we're trying to have this conversation to be like, okay, how are white people understanding land expropriation without compensation? So, okay, black man is a black man. So, from a black lens, right, black people have been all over this continent. And as a result, we look like the people of this continent. In the same way that the environment affects different parts of the earth and creates the people of that place, we Africans, and according to how you white people labeled us, we are brown skinned with, you guys said, hair like wool. We've got these noses, we've got these lips, we've got these hips. You know what an African is. Like when you point to one, you can, and you know what a European is, you know what a Chinese person is. So this thing where there's suddenly an erasure of what Africans are, or the indigenous people of this land are, is the thing is that you can't build on a story that's built on lies. So Africans have been here. We are the people of the indigenous land. We exist. And I know that you keep mentioning the Khoisan and stuff. I want you to know that in indigenous languages in this land, The word Khoisan came with you guys. It came with you guys. And we've had this conversation before that San actually stands for South African Native. So if you guys had language like Native, it means that there was a time in your history and in your bloodline when you remembered who the natives and the indigenous people are. And now there is a trauma that has happened. Well, I suppose it is. It's that just hanging on to your home, because you know South Africa is your home. But now, in holding on to your home, you're denying the history of South Africa. And I don't know if that's the correct way to go about it, because I feel as if that approach will antagonize the indigenous people. Um, Yeah, I think that that approach is very antagonistic. So there were people, and by your own history books, as I was saying, by your own history books, you say that you found people here, you found the San and the Khoi and the South African natives. You found people here, you know. In your history books, you've got wars that you fought where you have written down what you've done. You yourselves have written and documented what you have done, right? And now we're coming into an era where you're pretending as if nothing like that happened. So how are we supposed to be in a conversation if some one of us is coming with stories, you know, or lies? It kind of defeats the purpose, and it's boring to talk to someone who's lying, to be honest. I speak on behalf of all Africans, that when you do that lying thing of yours that you guys like to do, it's just like, yeah, it's exhausting. So, anyways, you've got history books and you've written down, you've documented what you guys have done. Then you've documented the Land Act of 1912, 1913. You've documented it. You documented how you kicked people out of their lands. You've documented it. I mean, things like the Kruger National Park. Now we are starting. There we go. Black man. My family is a beneficiary of land in Bulukwane. The problem we have is that when they took our land, they gave us land working with the chiefs. So that's why I'm asking this. That's where I'm getting at now. To be like all these national reserves, Kruger Park, all these people with big farms, these protected areas, they were Black people living there. There are graves there. The other day I went to the Kruger Park. I went to some king's grave inside the Kruger Park. So now those people don't have access to the king's grave because it's at the Kruger Park and now it belongs to the Kruger Park. So there are very real things that have affected us from when the land was taken. Let me go to Johannes. The Black man's knowledge of self has been used against him, and the only way is studying ourselves. But if we could study true history, one would understand the era we are in. Indeed, indeed. And that's what we're trying to do with the Moya platform, is that we're trying to connect the dots and trying to find our history and find where we should be and find where we are headed to. So when we speak of land expropriation without compensation, I don't think that that's the thing. That's the thing. And if there are no white people here, it's very typical because they don't like to own up to their things. Like when you're like, okay, let's have a conversation, yeah, then they run away. So if they're not here, it's fine. We will still say all these things. They will find it eventually one day, and it's okay. That's also why I was lazy to do these conversations with white people, because I was like, and this was an attitude that I saw all around. They're like, oh, please, we've been speaking to those ones. It's useless. Like, Black people don't have any faith in white people. And for as long as Black people don't have faith in white people, we're going to remain in this constant limbo. We were saying, making an analogy of a family earlier on, that if things are brushed under the carpet in the family home, the family just deteriorates. So that's why we want to have these conversations. So when we speak about land expropriation without compensation, I mean, we're not saying the whites in Greenside or like Linden or Randburg, now we're going to come take your houses. No, we're talking about the vast green land that is occupied by one guy, where he's got hundreds and hundreds of hectares of fertile land by a river. It's like, nah. So that's who we're speaking about. We're speaking about really the farm owners and the owners of the land who are doing participating in tourism. Like all these people, these game lodges and game reserves, what taxes are they paying? What are they giving back? And those are the sections of land that we want, where we can also build our nice things by the rivers. So when we speak of land expropriation, we're not targeting you urban areas. It's too congested here. We're talking about all the farmlands, and that's why the farmers are panicking, because they know that rightfully they don't, and most of them don't belong there. Some of them don't even have title deeds. We have a situation in, I think, what did they say, Jozini or something, Jozini Dam, where it's owned by a white person, and then the government has to buy water from a white person. Do you understand? Why are white people monopolizing natural resources? That is the question. Let's see your comments. Since the beginning of time, white people have never made an effort to meet us off. That's the problem. And that's why we're having these conversations. We sit here having conversations where we want to deal with the issues that they have, because now they went to Donald Trump or whatever saying we're murdering them. So now we're like, okay, what's the problem? You know, when a child is acting out, there's a point in time where you just have to sit down and say, what's the issue? And that's why we are trying to have these conversations. I suppose I'm going to just have to keep trying and just getting frustrated about it. But it's funny because white people like to call Nziki Mazwai rage. They say the Nziki Mazwai rage or the rants. But when I call them to be like, okay, let's talk about what I want to talk about, then they know where to be found at the scene. You know what I'm saying? So it gets a bit deep. Nzilikazi is the person to blame for all of this. When white people took land, he had already displaced our people. You see, so there's questions like that, you know, how did our chiefs collaborate with white people? So it's deep, man. You know, there's no conflict that's only one-sided. There's no conflict that's only one-sided. Everybody is guilty. Side questions, what happened to Sahel Tuesdays? We have it tonight. Tonight, there's Sahel Tuesdays. And in Sahel Tuesdays, remember that's where we do geopolitics with Dr. Kanyisile. So tonight we're having a question and answer session. So you can ask anything about the Sahel Tuesdays, what you've learned, anything you want us to go back on. So please don't worry. There is Sahel Tuesdays tonight. I hope you caught up on the men's conference from last night. Really, really beautiful. We had a session where women could ask the host, Uwandile Dladla, questions about men, you know, because men always confuse us. We're always like, why the hell is he doing this? So it was a very, very nice session where girls were just like, okay, tell me, when he does this, what does this mean now? You know, so we are really enjoying the men's conference. It's on Mondays at 7 p.m. And as we said, Sahel Tuesdays today. And then on Wednesdays, we have Black Wednesdays with Ndate Steve Lebello, where we study African history. And I implore white South Africans to go to Black Wednesdays and learn, because what has happened is you are denying a history and pretending it doesn't exist, and it's not working out for you, to be honest. It's not working out for you. So maybe it's time for white people to try new strategies to get along with the other children, especially when they're in the minority. Bantu says, I'm tired of endless attempts from our side. They showed their true colors, pushing the white genocide narrative, even when they knew it was untrue. They just want apartheid back. I'm done with whites. See, that's the danger. That's why I was trying to have these conversations, because I'm like, if we don't have these conversations, there is going to be a racial war. Like, especially since people are getting more and more broke and more frustrated. Indlala ibanga ulaga. And that, my white South Africans, directly translated means hunger creates anger, creates war. So these conversations are so important. Thanks for mentioning farmland. Truth be told, most farmers don't have the title deeds, but you don't want to run the risk of Zimbabwe 2.0. South Africa was too soft to handle sanctions. Let's talk about that also, guys. I mean, let's talk about Zimbabwe didn't just happen. Please remember, yes, actually, I'm glad you mentioned the sanctions. The only reason Zimbabwe failed is because the West will make an example out of Zimbabwe, and they sanctioned them and they cut off all their trades. And obviously, if you can't trade, then you're just unemployed. Zimbabwe is unemployed because Bastian has kicked out Zimbabwe from the workforce. So that's also quite sad. It's quite sad that our economics are based on the West, and that the West have got so much power. So how do we build our own communities so that we're not so vulnerable and not scared of becoming unemployed? Why do we need to ask to be met halfway with a bully and a selfish person? Ish. Because we have to live with the bully and the selfish person. It's not like we can suddenly wake up and all white people are gone, right? So as much as it's a difficult space to maneuver because of white arrogance, it's something we're just going to have to. Ish, guys, for me, it's scary. For me, it's scary. Anyways, we can't even remove illegal spaza and shops in townships and rural areas. Imagine how we deal with sanctions. So, shub. One of these days, I'm going to have a conversation with Black people, because I've also got a few questions for you guys, especially related to what's being said. Can Black people govern themselves? Because I think that white people feel as if they need to become our leaders and saviors. So we need to have conversations also as Black people. But as I was saying, we Black South Africans have high tolerance of bullshit. We need to build by fixing our families, then we shall unite. Ish, guys, what a mess. Raquel Muta's prophecy is slowly coming true in all corners. We are becoming foreigners in our own land. We tolerate bullshit too much. Hey, the blacks, I'm having a conversation with Black South Africans here. There's no white South African here. The conversation never happens, and it will never happen until the agenda is truly changed. The sheep clothing of an equal rainbow nation was a sedative to make Batubahuna stop fighting back. It's so deep. It's so deep. It's so deep. When we say South Africa is privately owned, we mean it, because even the land itself is currently a white man's property, and South Africa and Jeyona is registered somewhere in America. So in that conversation for Black people, I want to ask also one thing, Guti, guys, is it a case of just admitting defeat and lying down and accepting that we're slaves? Is that where we are? Like, is it like that then? An economic decision, by the way. It was not because Mahua all of a sudden became nice. It was getting rough on their pockets with the sanctions. The said freedom given was not directed to Bat. It's deep what you're saying. it's deep because it's showing in their behavior, right? So so are we saying that there's no point in having a conversation with white people? Because that's what I'm hearing. And if I'm hearing that, I'm going to stop my life and continue with my life, because if white people don't want to change or become better people in the society, then it really is not my business. Last time they came here, they were bullying me because they'd been brought by their black friend, who I had asked why he says black names in an English way when he's a black man, and then he mobilized white people to come and attack me on the live. So now I'm realizing that, so those all those white people were not authentically coming to have a conversation with white people. They were just coming to take down another black, to help a black take down another black. So because where are they today? Today they are nowhere to be found when it's time to have the conversations that we want to have. The conversation of land expropriation without compensation, which they've been complaining about and throwing tantrums about. Then we say, come, okay, let's talk about it. What does it mean to you? Okay, so how should we move about it? So then they don't show up for those conversations. So what does it mean, guys? Um, do we just continue singing "Kill the Boer" then, and then that energy we just, right? Because you're working with the people that are gaslighting you and not willing to talk. So, ish. So yes, I mean, I just wanted to know, but there seems to be no white people in class to tell us what they think land expropriation without compensation is. I thought that we would be able to start conversations, but it's struggling. The national dialogue is struggling. It's breathing through the wound. The only dialogues white people want to be part of are the ones that they create. It is even true that Arabs also bought land in Limpopo, as it came out of a real Arab family owns land in Eastern Cape back into. You see, so like this land issue we need to talk about, and one day, well, I'm going to just make a conversation with the black people because the white people are not interested. But we're going to unpack the land with historians and what's actually happening. Because there's also a mini China that's growing. So there's a whole Chinese village there by Midrand. The Chinese are buying loads and loads of land. So what conversations should we be having, guys? I mean, in Cape Town, there are these things called digital nomads, where these overseas people, the currency works in their favor because I need to, our currency compared to theirs. When they get here, they are millionaires. So what's happening in Cape Town is that the property values are going up because of people overseas who are now moving to South Africa and can afford. So which means that Black South Africans, especially, we're going to be kicked out of independent Cape Town because we just simply won't be able to afford it. So, the land issue is so deep. We are going to definitely have to bring someone in who's a land specialist. Um, yo, ah, oh my God, it's a great idea. Yo, how will I cope though? Because I just think her content is wild, wild, wild. But okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. But a lot of the time, let me tell you guys, a lot of the time, the people that work with white people are scared of my platform because they think that white people are going to think that they're my friend, they're friends with me, and then they're going to lose the white people. So a lot, like I deal with it a lot where they don't want to touch me a yardstick because they just like, yo, umlungu uzothini. Umlungu uzothini. So there's a risk of that because the ones that are white capital backed, they kind of need permission because they're going to talk to their people and be like, oh yeah, Nziki invited. They'll be like, oh my God, she's such a racist. Are you going to a racist platform? And then she'll be like, oh, no, I'm not. Oh, gosh, I would never do that. I mean, she's crazy. So that's another thing. Black man's is 14. Because South Africa is belonging to all who live in the moment. So how do we navigate around that the indigenous people get a little bit more than everybody else who lives in it? Because these conversations, they're going to include all the races. Because we can't be living the way we're living right now. It's not working out. It's not sustainable. We're the most disrespected race, and to some degree, it's a because we don't love and respect ourselves. I need to say this, son. We don't love and respect ourselves. So let me move this a little bit. Trying to move it away from the sun. It's not working. But we are our own enemy. Aish, I've been meaning to do a good morning video about this to push the single currency in Africa, the use of one currency. It's important. It's such a clever idea you came up with, and I support it. And Lord, I hope I remember in my morning videos to raise this issue of a single currency because it's killing us. The other African countries are coming down here because our currency is stronger. So we need to ensure that we equalize it. We equalize it because it's not working it's just not working. It's not working. It's not working for South Africans especially. It's just not working. It sets us up against each other, the cheap labor versus what we should be getting, the normal rates we should be getting. So I don't know, guys. Have you got any other thoughts? What were your thoughts on land expropriation? How did you think we should go about it? And if there's nothing else we can say, then I can close it because then the white people didn't show up to their lesson. What I'm saying that if you want to be rich, you need to say things that will make whites love you. I know this very well. And so do all the other ones. I mean, you've seen them. That's why more citizens concerned speak like that, because they know that that's how you make money. All of them. The 702 blacks, all of them. It's not like they're dumb and they don't realize what they're doing. They are aware, guys. They are aware. Because at Bryce, when there's no white people around, they tell the truth and they laugh about, fuck, I can't say this shit because the racism in corporate, I can't tell my true feelings. I've got bills to pay. So they know, They know. We all know that to make it economically in this country, you have to say some racist stuff about black people and then you'll be elevated. We know. I think nationalism for black South Africans is necessary, but we need to do the work first and build ourselves, gain our land back so all Africans can cooperate. This is all direct. This is connected to our identity crisis. So remember how the Chinese did it, how they had a cultural revolution. And what the cultural revolution does is that when you focus on your own self, your own culture, it builds your confidence. So by the time you get into a space where there's other people, you're strong in yourself. And that's what's happened with the Chinese. So when we were busy like getting American music, what, they were like, oh, they gosh, whatever they think. Oh, sorry, I'm being naughty. But they hang on to their things. When we were busy caring about, they were hanging on to their things. And now look, they're powerhouses. So our issue is that we hate ourselves. We hate what we look like. We hate what we represent. We hate being black. So once we start loving it, it's going to be a completely different experience. Whether you believe it or not, male leadership has failed us. Yes, we need female leadership now because men are dogs. Start a movement now. We will follow. Guys, you've had so many opportunities to follow me. You don't have your egos are too fragile. It is wild. It's wild. But I mean, Moya is going to end up being a civil movement anyway. So I'm starting small, little by little. But no, that's exactly where we're headed. Yeah, yeah, we're within. Don't worry. We are busy being groomed and trained so that we know how to work with different people and many people. Because that's the other thing, we undermine how much work. Like as we're watching this whole Floyd thing, it's just like you just undermine. You just like, I'll start a political party. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. So little by little, little by little, Moya starting like this, but it's going to build traction and eventually it's a movement. So we are on it. We are on it. Okay, guys, I see that the white people didn't come to class. They were too good for us. So I'm going to wrap up the live. It is extremely, extremely cold here. Yo, hey, we got this, guys. We're already doing it. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're already doing it. A lot of people are already learning a lot from this platform. And the thing is, knowledge of self is like life after death. I don't remember which rap line was, but knowledge of self is like life. When you suddenly realize, you're like, what? I'm this dope. Oh, shit. And that's the energy that we've got to come at um, without blackness. So it's just an identity crisis, guys. Once we even own up and say, okay, and then start working towards it, things will be much better for us. And while we're still chasing white standards, we'll never be white standards. No matter how much we work at it, you will always, always be an African child of the soil. We will never be white standards. So this chase for white standards is just, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. There we go. Knowledge of self is like life after death. Once you discover who you are and what your capabilities are, what you're strong at, instead of chasing fake hair, start getting to know your own hair so that you know how it works. Like so many black women don't even know their own hair. Like it can't grow because they've never taken the time to play with it and love it and nurture it and embrace it. Instead, they hide it under these wigs. So yeah, if for as long as we hate ourselves and we chase white definitions of success, white definitions of beauty, white definitions of just lifestyle and who we are. Oh, amen, guys! Fucking round of applause! Fucking round of applause! Yeah, no, you saw white people have got a bad reputation. You saw if you've been here with us, there's it Valley, you'll know that we've been complaining about you guys. So I don't know if you want to, before we shut it down, from a white point of view, we were talking about land expropriation without compensation, and what are your thoughts on it, and what's the issue, and what's making you panic about the concept of land expropriation without compensation? What does it mean to you? So if you don't mind, Veli, if you can just answer that, we'll be so happy, because we've been waiting for the whites to come in and just like, so we can have these conversations. Flip. Maybe we could also start in our own languages. One, yes, I actually agree with you. Ndivumelana nawe. Ndivumelana nawe. And in fact, funeka ndenze panel so that it's representative of Mzansi. So I totally agree with that. It's just that, ironically, this language that colonized us is also now why we can all speak. Actually, no, that's not true, because we could always speak to each other in our languages. Like, I remember when we grew up, Unkhono, who was our nanny, and Unkhono and Kananeli Tatumkhulubani. He used to do the garden work, and one was Mosotho from Lesotho, and the other one was Umxhosa from the Eastern Cape, and they used to have the most lit conversations and chat. So it's actually not true that that English is the communication language. We actually can hear each other. So, which is why it's also important for white South Africans learn to learn the language. Yo, sister, yazi iyangixolela ngizavala manje. You get it? Um, oh snap! I lost my train of thought. But oh, we were talking about language. Oh, I was saying that it's important for white South Africans to also familiarize themselves with indigenous languages, because once we always tell you guys this, that once you speak to someone in their own language, half the work is done. So a lot of our issues are coming from ego, um, from ego. And how can we now start having these conversations? Veli, please come through again and tell us about the land expropriation thing, because I know that that's a heated conversation for white people. And if I had to go to Biz News, they will be there talking about it quite explicitly, and they'll be saying exactly how they feel. But there's no point in white people speaking amongst each other, amongst the colonial clerks, and then thinking that that's gonna no, like it's not gonna fix anything. The people you need to talk to are the people who are complaining about the land. So how do we have a conversation between the people who are monopolizing the land and the people who have been dispossessed of the land? And how do we meet each other halfway? Because as we know, obviously land needs resources, you know? So okay, let me go to comment section. I see you, Veli. Thank you for coming through. Let me just quickly go to Black Man quickly first. We must start with the royal land. They must give people title deeds. Then municipalities will start collecting rates. Then we see development. Hey, yeah, okay. So we're having this conversation. How are we tackling the land issue? How are we tackling? So Veli says the truth is the challenge lies in our ancestral legacy and generational wealth, something we're being asked to confront and in some cases forfeit. As much as we strive to understand your perspective, it's not easy to let go of something so deeply tied to identity. Thank you very much for that point. So, and we did mention this earlier, which this is all you know as home. So, how do we now, let's say, Veli, that your generational wealth is that now you own this huge game reserve and you're earning hundreds and thousands of dollars per day from overseas tourists. And then all that money only goes to your family. And this land is stolen land. So, how then do you suggest that we meet each other halfway when you have acquired? Because, like I said earlier on, we're not talking about the houses like here in urban areas and stuff, because we're developing and anybody's got access really. But we're talking about the vast lands that the Land Act passed on to your grandparents. Like most of you have got these farms. Like you will have, like, our white friends will tell us about their grandmother's farm in Port Alfred, their grandmother's farm in, and all these grandmother's farms is stolen land from us. So then what do we do? What do you suggest is the solution when it's like that? And how much of the land that's been stolen are you willing to give away? Is it a matter of cutting up the land and sharing? Is it a matter of now you paying extra taxes to give back to where you've taken? what is it a matter of? Like, when white people sit there and have these conversations, and I hear you, it's hard to give back something that you had thought now belongs to you. And um oh snap, I was hoping we wouldn't. No, 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 please don't, please don't. I've just got a strong voice. I'm hoping to have an honest and safe conversation with you, and that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what we're doing. Like, please don't take my black girl fire as attack. I honestly am asking you, okay, but if your goal is truly to hear my truth, I ask that your people don't come at me with hostility. Yes, we can't build understanding if I'm being attacked for speaking. Nobody's coming at you. Guys, did anybody, and I want to say to the audience, please, guys, the subject matters that we are engaging are sensitive, and it's a national, these conversations of national importance, and they matter, and how we come at each other is going to make or break. So as we come into these conversations, we have to decide, are we here to break or to make South Africa? That's the first question. So I'm assuming that everybody who is in the room is here because we want to make it. So please, 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 don't stress. Speak openly, honestly, vulnerabilities, everything. Take everything out, because you might just be one white small voice just here amongst us here. You might be the only one. But what it does is that you are giving us a point of view that is not our point of view. So it's important for your voice to be here so that we understand. But actually, you know what? I understand why white people would get defensive. Um, Flip. I lost my train of thought. But in this situation, Veli, you have to be strong. But I can assure you, no one's going to come at you. I don't attract that kind of audience at all, at all. I've got a very mature and compassionate and soulful, and I've got good people. So it's not a gossip platform here. It's not we don't attack people here. I don't even know why you even wrote this tweet, because I don't know where it's coming from, and I hope nobody attacked you, because really, I can't invite you to my house and then you're being sworn at. So I'm sorry if you felt some type of way or you read something somewhere. I missed it, and I would have called it to order had I seen it. So please, 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 let's work together. These royal lands also make it hard for investors to come and invest because there is no ownership. If you use your land as collateral and fail to repay, that's your own business. You see, so this land issue is got layers and layers, you know. There's the settler layer, there's the royalty layer, you know. So we need these conversations. Please, guys, once again, you know, the only rule I ever have is we can have opposing views, but please can we engage respectfully? Please, guys, I get into enough trouble for being a drama queen and full of life. So please, can we just keep the engagement thingy? Most of the stolen land was sold to people legitimately. Those who own it have title deeds, only a few don't. So how do we fix that, guys? Because now we've let it go. Ish, the sun. We've let this situation slide so long that now the land has exchanged hands and it's moved and moved and moved. I'm trying to find, how do I get out? Boring. This light, the sun, the sun, the sun, the sun. It's just too much for me. So, sorry guys. Okay, cool. Now we're starting to have the conversation. Thank you so much, Veli. You know, I know white people don't really like to express themselves, so I know this is like, you are really going in deep here. So, not all land was stolen. Some of it was bought, even if the exchange seemed unfair, by today's standards. But if it's unfair, then it's not a lawful contract. I'll read the rest of it. Is that So let me, where I think the breakdown is happening, I'll bring your question back up on screen. What is so deep for us? Guys, I'm so sorry about all this. What is so deep for us is that, snap. I think that what is problematic and difficult is that in our culture, you know, when you white people first came to Africa, in our culture and in who we are, in our spirituality, in just the way we are, we had no concept of owning God's things. We knew that we came to earth to enjoy the earth, but not take ownership and then cut up slices. And that's why you called us hunter gatherers, because we would move around the continent and then everywhere was home. Wherever we pitched tent, nobody was like, no, this is mine. This is mine. And now the problem is that white people have got an individualistic approach to things. And you see this even in families and weddings. So white people come and they like, this is mine. And they introduce this concept of owning. And even when they came, Black people didn't speak English or Afrikaans. So how do you have a contract agreement that's lawful and legal and fair with someone who can't hear what you're saying? Young Tol. So anyways, let me go back to your comment. Not all land was stolen. Some of it bought, even if the exchange seems unfair by today's standards, like with mirrors or small sums. Still, it was a transaction. We as white people repurchased land then. So if the government now wants to reclaim that land, shouldn't compensation be part of that process? Just like any asset, whether it's dollar or gold, if you bought it when its value was low and its value rises over time, anyone wanting to buy it 100 years later would have. But the thing is that what happens when it's stolen? You know, you can't steal somebody's thing and then sell it back to them. So that's where we are having a breakdown. And as you say, it's past hands already, ne? So possibly you could, if you've got proof of how much you sold it for and the title deed and stuff, I think you can get that money back. But I don't think that now you must benefit from the property value going up. No, it's stolen, and you're lucky to be able to get what you lost by buying stolen property back. You're actually very lucky, because legally, do you understand? So that's where it gets tricky, because you're like, no, but I bought it, and we're saying, but it's stolen property. So how can you say you bought it and it's stolen property? So do you see where there's a breakdown? So how do we thingy? Brought from who? The one selling the land had no right to it. That's why I'm saying that it's crime. It's the proceeds of crime. So how do we tackle that? That you were scammed, essentially. That's what it means. Because if that person, so how do we work around that? I mean, I'd love to hear more of your views, because, you know, they bought some of the land, royal houses. They took land from other tribes like Mziligas. Hey, see, this is why we need to learn our history. Because we need to know what happened with the land, because that's what's causing the beef between us. And once we sort that out and we all accept, okay, this is what's going to happen, then we deal with that. But it's tricky where we are right now, because we're just like, no, but on your land are my ancestors' graves. So what do we do in situations like that, Vase? Like where it's like, Yeah, but the stolen land that you bought actually was originally ours, and we've got a graveyard there. Because some of you don't even allow these families to come and do their rituals there. That's what even makes it even worse. It would be better if some of you were making an effort to be like, okay, once a year, I know that the Mutawungs come and they go to over there, and I respect that because I've got an ill-gotten gain at the moment. And how do I maneuver so that I don't antagonize the people that could fuck with my shit, right? Lies. Our ancestors weren't in the business of selling land because they understood land couldn't be possessed. It was for use and preservation for future generations. That's exactly what I was saying. I was saying that white people and black people come at land at from different points. So how are we going to sort that out? Where white people want ownership and mine, 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 and from our heritage, we don't have mine, mine, mine. We have we. And isn't it time that once you're, because also having a we is bigger than having an I. So our cultures are proving to be more humane in how we deal with collective growth, whereas the Western culture seems to be individualistic, and that's why you would be selfish with the land and hog 200 acres, 200 hectares of land and think, oh no, it's fine. This is my land. I did this. This is my. So that's where we are struggling. Um, Part of the history says Kukuni gave them some and for free. You see, so your ancestors also got land for free that now you're selling. So that's why I'm like, what are we going to do with the land issue, guys? What conversations do we need to have around land expropriation on the ground so that we have practical solutions for each other so that we don't keep threatening this land? You see, we need to learn our history. I'm going to get a historian to come on to Moya and give us the story of King's Cocoon. Mash from Politically Incorrect has always said I must do that. So I'm definitely going to do that because it seems like this is an important figure in history. Yeah, it's deep. It's deep. We're dealing with the people who some of them believe in ownership, others believe in just sharing the land. So then how do we change policies to accommodate everybody, right? That's the question. So we're still stuck. We're still stuck. And if we don't have these conversations, our children's children are still going to be having this problem. Where now, when the future Julius Malema starts singing "Kill the Boer," then it becomes a whole drama, because we haven't resolved anything. Let me 5 minutes. We have guys. I'm gonna have to wrap up in 5 minutes. You see, questions like this come up. The thing is that, Magazi, is that different races, different people have got different talents and different ways they do things that the collective could benefit from. So if we used the talents of each race in this country effectively, we would be hell of a far. So we can't really be having conversations of, do we really need to do this, mommy? Mommy, I don't want to do this. We are trying to evolve and kind of just grow, right? So we do need to accommodate and have conversations, unfortunately. I know it sucks. I'm so sorry. For Black people, white people, Indian people, everybody, I know it sucks that we have to have these difficult ones, but we have to. Mampela Rampeda's paternal grandmother's land was forcefully taken. Hugh Masigela's paternal grandfather's land was Ellen Kuzwa's paternal grandfather's land was all of us in our bloodline have got grandparents whose land was forcefully taken from them. So is the fear also that, do white people fear that Black people are going to do to them what they did to us? Is that also maybe a fear? So, okay, I'll follow up on that. Putela saying this is a complex issue because the global context has changed over the century. With an unemployment rate of over 30%, tariffs, climate change, urban migration, and illegal immigration, it's a lot. That's the thing. So, Makazi, you are going to sit in the naughty corner with all the other naughty children who don't want to cooperate with each other. And we hope that you guys are only just a small 20%. I hope that the 80% of us is willing to just like suck it up and figure out how, because even in our relationships, guys, we compromise. You know, you ask girls, we have to be on some yobo baba. Because you know that you need to compromise. The men are always like, I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry, baby. Because that's the nature of relationships. You have to humble yourself. So all races are going to have to humble themselves in this conversation. Skukune told white missionaries to build the church where it was not Bedi land. It was another tribe's land, making the agreement void. We will bring Skukune on, guys. I promise you. We will bring on that history lesson. Veli saying some of the land was bought legally under the system that existed at the time. We inherited that land. Now, if you're changing the system today, that's not on us. Back then, the law allowed us to take or buy land the way we did. Veli, let me stop there and I'm going to continue. Are you suggesting that the Black majority now, who are in a position to change the law if they were really serious, if they suddenly put in laws like the Land Act of 1913, are we just going to say too bad? The law allows it for white people to be kicked out. Is that what? Because what goes for the goose goes for the gander as well. Like, so if you're thinking that it can work like this for you, are you suggesting that now Black people must put their energy into this land expropriation? Because they haven't put energy in it because it's awkward. It's like, ish. But if you're speaking like this, then Black people are going to be fueled to be like, okay, hi, it's it's expropriation without compensation, and you're outnumbered. So we can change the policy. All we need is a 2/3 majority. We can do that. We can do that. And we can change the law and then forcefully remove you from the lands. So you are validating. You're saying that's fine. If you're saying that's fine, then you must be ready for it being fine when it's the other way around. You can't punish people for following the rules that existed back then. Your people are changing the rules now, but that doesn't make us criminals for living the ones that were there before. Those laws forcefully removed people. We can also make laws that forcefully remove people. It's just that we're not that inhumane. So I would be careful with how you position this view, because it's an ill-gotten gain. You benefited from the Land Act, and apartheid was declared a crime against humanity. So, in fact, ideally, they should have reversed the Land Act by now. But it's just that it's awkward because, like you say, you guys have gotten attached to the situation. So if you say that if the law says we can take away the land, forcefully remove people from their farms, it means we can also employ the same law. So there we go. Back then, the law was apartheid. That's what I'm saying. Good to, oh, okay. If you guys are saying, oh, that was law, then you must be aware that it can be law here also for you to have the same done to you. It is said to be Sotho land where now is Johannesburg. That's why Lesotho also wants to claim some of Gauteng. I thought it was Tswanas. I think it's the Tswanas. But there is a court case even. They love to claim the land was unoccupied. Truth is the land was lying fallow and waiting to be allocated to the age group of braves about to marry Ilobola, including cattle and land for the. No, we know it's a lie, guys. We know that we were on the land living, and then white people came with this rule that this is mine, this is mine. So that's what we're struggling from now. I recall reading somewhere the first land transaction for sale was in the 1920s. So they need to stop lying that the ancestors were buying land 400 years ago. So see why it's tricky. So for me, I just think as we're wrapping up, I think white people need to come to the table with this conversation to say how they think we should go forward, because as things stand, it's not fair. So what are your suggestions, so that we are not still having this conversation in 20 years' time? What are your, what, like, because right now we are a group that now all went to school together, so now we can talk to each other, we know how to communicate, unlike our past. In future, our children are not going to tolerate that shit. Guti, Aibo, what do you mean? I'm at 2000 have already displayed, Guti. There's a generation that comes afterwards that goes, oh, what? 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 So, what are we going to do about the land issue, guys? What are we going to do about the land issue so that our future generations don't have to deal with the mess that we are in right now? What are we going to do with the land? As a Dan, I can probably say that my great-grandfather, John Dan, was blessed with lady by the king of Zulu nation. We still acknowledge the Zulu king as our king because not only are we descendants of a Zulu chief, but descendants of the daughters of the Zulu kingdom, making us Zulu by blood. Interesting. I mean, there's also that. They're the white settlers who married into black communities and their descendants. So do you see why it's so important to have this conversation, guys, so that we're not just throwing bananas at each other and trying to figure out things? We have to unpack all the nuances and know where exactly we are. You know, they couldn't even produce title deeds. This Golimbobo, when the government asked them to produce deeds, they couldn't be compensated for compulsory land purchase to build road, so they pretended to donate the land. I remember that story. I remember they acted like in their kindness they're going to donate to the roads countries because they couldn't produce the title deeds and they knew. So, laughing at Amatu, don't even know how to use a file. Please don't joke with Amma 2000. Guys, we've been on here for an hour and 13 minutes. We will try this again. I don't know what's a better time for white people, because this is actually a conversation for white people. You black people talk too much. I don't know why you've even been in the comment section. So we're going to keep building and having these difficult conversations. Thank you so much, Vase, for your contribution. Because when we have honest dialogues, then we see where the gaps are and where we can fix and where we can empathize or where we can, So I'm sorry that you were this lone voice and you possibly felt attacked, but you're actually playing a very, very important role in all of this, because you're giving us the white point of view, because we definitely know the black point of view. We definitely know that. So thank you. I know that wasn't easy. I know it's such a sensitive subject. I mean, home, identity. That's why we actually, it's funny because we're coming full circle, because in the beginning I said that last week's episode was about identity and the importance of identity. And now white people have raised that the land issue is an identity issue for them also. So then how do we move around this issue of the land? Which land must be compensated without expropriation? Which land must be compensated? Because it seems as if there's different levels. It just seems that there's nuances and there's a lot. So thank you again, Vase. Thank you. It matters. Your voice really matters. And I encourage other white people. I know you always sit in the back there. I know this. I know this about it. So please just have more courage next time. I know that my name has got a lot of fire around it, and when you come at me, you're on defense already. But I'm here, and I'm here to have the conversation so that we can actually build a community that's going to kind of work, you know? This is an excellent way to end it off. I know, fam. I know. I know that they're whites who hide the fact that they're actually part of Moya and they're actually hearing it. It's so funny. The other time I was at Tiger Wheel and Tire, some white person was like, "Hi, I love your work," and I was like, "What?" They're like, "No, you know, some of us really get it. It's just that we're gonna get into trouble." So I know that there's a mob mentality. So thank you so much for risking. I know you're gonna get into trouble. Thank you for risking so that we can have these important conversations. I'm going to find a set time for these conversations when everybody's relaxed. I don't know, you guys must communicate what time is good for white people. I'm more talented in the Black culture and the Black movement. So I'm still going to read white people and understand maybe in the mornings because, you know, so I'll let you know when we're going to regularly do this because it is important, you know. This is the national dialogue. This is it, where we just keep it real about where does it hurt, why does it hurt, and then hopefully we walk away more empowered, knowing how to navigate this difficult situation that Jan van Riebeck has put us into. So thank you to everybody who joined the live stream today. We appreciate you. And again, please, Mlungwam, white people, please next time participate. Participate. Don't care what the other whites are going to say. You're not like the other whites. I'm joking. But please just participate and let's get this conversation rolling so that it stops being so tense, man. I just hate all the race stuff on timelines. We're always like snapping at each other, and it's not necessary, really. If we all use our talents well, I mean, I'll give it to white people. White people can fucking organize, eh? They just the way your minds work. And because I think that white people are more like left brain and black people are more creatives. So imagine how we could get so much done if we use that. I mean, already in the entertainment industry, the whites are eating because they organize the talent. So they know this concept I'm talking about. But imagine if we use this concept nicely across and create these systems, but everybody now must benefit. Unlike in the entertainment industry where the whites are just eating off the blacks, everybody must benefit from the work we all put in. Guys, love, light, and laughter. Umoya light, umoya bright. Please, can you subscribe to the channel on YouTube? We really need you there, you know, like the haters are always dissing me about my small little podcast. And I think my small little podcast is doing the biggest job in South Africa. So please, can you come and support it and help us? There's no ulterior motives here. There's no ENCA agenda to come and try make people fight. We're actually coming with our authentic selves to say, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable with you. And this is a safe space for us to communicate. And thank you that there was no swearing and stuff like that. It's so nice. So thank you for making the effort. Thank you, Vase. I know that was a lot for you. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Black Man. Thank you to everybody who commented and made this live stream have more meat and try to unpack, because now we know that actually this conversation has got many, many layers that we need to unpack. It's a mind map. So thank you. We'll see you again next time. I'll tell you when the next conversation with white South Africans will be, but probably in about a week's time. So bless you and bless me and bless everybody. And bye.